Good morning, welcome to another weekly reading vlog. It is week 2 of Spoopathon. I'm starting this on Tuesday because over the weekend I was in Scotland, so I had a long weekend in Scotland and was doing a separate vlog for that. If you want to check that out, it is up here. Had a great time. It is now, as I said, Tuesday, start of another week, so we are entering into week 2 of Spoopathon. The prompts were released on Saturday. I haven't had too much of a time to look through everything properly because I was just absolutely swamped over the last few days. However, I have started my next read. I have a haul to show you, and I finished a book on the plane last night that I want to talk to you about as well. So let's talk about the book I finished first. I finished Grady Hendrix's The Final Girl Support Group. This is a psychological horror following a group of women who have all been the final girls in their own real life slasher story. So they have a support group and slowly they are being targeted by somebody and they think that there's some kind of revenge being made on them as being final girls. So we follow one character who is trying to get to the bottom of this and certainly go through a hell of a lot of character development to do so. She is trying to save her fellow final girls and of course herself. It's very interesting because it is the world we know. There's no paranormal elements to it like there is in Grady Hendrix's other books. However, it certainly really investigates that final girl trope. If you haven't heard of the final girl trope before, basically it refers to the person that is surviving at the end of the slasher film. So usually a lot of people have been killed. Sometimes there's some kind of stereotypical roles associated to those people, like sometimes they might be the jock, the cheerleader, things like that. The final girl is the person that is left alive at the end, sometimes the person that kills the killer, but generally they are the final girl to survive in the slasher films. So this, as I said, relates to all of the final girls that have survived their own real life slasher incidents in the context of this book. The way that this book used the final girl concept was very fascinating. They were acknowledged on the news. It was talked about that they were famous because they were final girls, and this support group was really about that element of it, like what that's done to their lives and being the last surviving ones and having films made about them. It's really weird to read about it from that angle because that part of it was such a key part to the meaning behind a lot of the book. I'm really trying to articulate it well. It just took a moment of a film, it took something from a film and put it in the real world, but still also introduced that element of film and that element of fiction to it. And I think it was very clever. It's really hard to articulate, unless you've read it. It's really difficult to say what I mean properly, but I did definitely enjoy this one. As far as psychological horrors go, I think this was really brilliant. It didn't scare me, it wasn't that kind of a horror, but it definitely made you analyse everything. You're thinking about everything. Who could it be? Who is doing this? The steps that are being made. This has fantastic character development from our main character. She really works on herself and progresses throughout this book. There is a lot of talk about mental health in this book. Obviously what these women have gone through is really talked about and how that's affected them now and how they each have different effects. Our main character at the start of this book has agoraphobia, for example, so we definitely look at how what has happened to these women affects them in different ways and how they each have a different way of dealing with it. So for many reasons, I love this. I haven't yet ran it through Corpal because I finished it on the plane last night and honestly just pretty much was wiped out for the rest of the day. It's verging on 5-star territory, to be honest. It just completely absorbed me. I was obsessed with it. I was thinking about it when I wasn't reading it. Those are all 5-star things for me. I just felt completely compelled by it. It's either going to be a 4.5 or a 5-star. I will let you know when I do actually remember to run it through Corpal. So that is the book that I finished. I wanted to give you a quick book haul and then tell you what I'm currently reading. So on Thursday, I needed to nip to a nearby town before I was prepping for my flight. And I just fell into the Waterstones. It accidentally happened and they had a really good selection. So I picked up a couple of books. So first up, I got Ruth Ware's The It Girl. This is a signed edition, which I'm not gonna say didn't sway me a little bit because it did, but I'm really excited to read another Ruth Ware book. The reviews were saying that this is one of Ruth Ware's best books. I really liked One by One. I've heard a lot of people didn't like that, but I did. I liked The Turn of the Key, and then I didn't really like The Death of Mrs. Westaway, so I want to see how I get on with this one. It was Hannah who found April's body 10 years ago. It was Hannah who didn't question what she saw that day. Did her testimony put an innocent man in prison? She needs to know the truth, even if it means questioning her own friends, even if it means putting her own life at risk, because if the killer wasn't a stranger, could it be someone she knows? I love a simple gripping blurb on a thriller like this, so I am really excited to read this one. I think for me this might be a bit of a decider on Ruth Ware because yeah, I didn't really like The Death of Mrs. Westaway. As I said, I did like The Turn of the Key, but One by One by far was my favourite, and I'm aware that's the one that most people don't like, but I think it's gonna be interesting to see if I'm split 50-50. If I like this one, then great. If I don't like this one, that means half of the books I've read by Ruth Ware I haven't really enjoyed. So This is definitely going to be a kind of decider for me, but hopefully I enjoy this one. Then I picked up Katrina Ward's Sundial. This is another signed edition. We have orange sprayed pages. The cover is absolutely beautiful on this one. So I finished The Last House on Needless Street over a week ago now, I think it was, and I absolutely loved it. 5 stars, just absolutely fantastic, completely had me gripped. And I had seen this book about and I didn't really click that it was the same author, and now I have clicked. I, of course, had to buy this. The tagline on the top of this says, "You can't escape the desert, you can't escape Sundial." Rob fears for her daughters, for Callie, who collects tiny bones and whispers to imaginary friends, for Annie, because she fears what Callie might do to her. Rob sees a darkness in Callie, one that reminds her of the family she left behind. She decides to take Callie back to her childhood home, to Sundial, deep in the Mojave Desert, and there she will have to make a terrible choice. Callie is afraid of her mother. Rob has begun to look at her strangely, to tell her secrets about her past that both disturb and excite her, and Callie is beginning to wonder if only one of them will leave Sundial alive. I think this sounds so good. It's a stunning thriller exploring the toxicity of the mother-daughter bond and the power of the past to twist the present, says the bottom of the blurb. I'm really excited for this because I really, really love The Last House on Needless Street, so I don't know if this can beat that for me, but I hope I enjoy it, and it sounds really interesting. The final book that I got, I have been hunting down in my local Waterstones, but they keep selling out as soon as they get it in. This is Stephen King's Fairy Tale. This is a chunky book, but this sounds really, really good. This is a pretty long blurb, but there is a paragraph at the top that hopefully summarizes it. Legendary storyteller Stephen King goes into the deepest well of his imagination in this spellbinding novel about a 17-year-old boy who inherits the keys to a parallel world where good and evil are at war and the stakes could not be higher for their world or ours. I really like the sound of this one. I think this sounds very interesting. There is a door that takes our main character to another world, and I love the idea of the portal into another world there. So I am really intrigued by the sound of this one. I have also started this one last night, so this is my current read. I definitely didn't read much of it last night because I was absolutely exhausted, but I read a couple of chapters, so I'm on page 8, which actually is a couple of chapters because the chapters are literally like 1 or 2 pages long, which is incredibly short. So far, I'm liking it, nothing to complain about. I really haven't got stuck into it enough. Obviously, I'm 8 pages in, but I will be reading this over the course of this week. I need to work out what Spoopathon book prompts this fits, because honestly, I just knew I wanted to pick this one up. I'm going to be back at my family home for pretty much all of this vlog. I'm going back there tomorrow afternoon-ish, so I'm hoping that this book is just kind of the book that I read throughout the whole week, so I don't need to bring too many books with me, because I have been tearing through books at the moment. I think this is my 7th of the month, and we are only right at the start of the month still, really. So I need to sit down and rate my other books. So I'm hoping that this one takes me through the whole week. I don't know. I'm hoping it's really good. If it's really, really good, then it will probably be read quicker because I am just really enjoying the kind of gripping, thrilling plots of the horrors and the thrillers I'm reading at the moment. So this is my current read. That was my book haul. I do also have a little extra thing to haul though. So I saw on Instagram that Stacey McAvoy Cunt was doing a sale of some ceramic pumpkins, and they're so cute. And I had to buy one. Look at it. It's so cute. I absolutely love this. This is going to be perfect on my bookshelf. I also picked up an autumnal bookmark as well because, excuse me, it's so pretty. I love the colours. And that marks the end of this haul. Welcome to this vlog. I don't know what this vlog's gonna look like because, as I said, I am gonna be back at my family home for the latter part of the week, but I'm hoping to get some good reading done. I just feel like I need to wake up a little bit at this stage because right now I am definitely still exhausted and need to actually start functioning for a full Tuesday because I'm back to normal today. I'm back to work and everything. I don't work Wednesdays, so I am off tomorrow, but I have lots of editing to do because I have to get the vlog that I made over the weekend edited and ready to go live on Saturday. So lots to do. I hope you enjoy this vlog. I hope you enjoyed the haul to intro this vlog and are ready to hear my thoughts on Fairy Tale by Stephen King. It's one of those days. I ordered myself a pizza. I had no food in my fridge. I am going back to my family home tomorrow, so there's no point in buying food, so I got myself a pizza and some garlic bread and I'm very excited about it. I'm going to go watch Uncharted and then I'm going to watch Bake Off and then finish Uncharted. And I'm ready for it. It's been a busy day. today. It is Wednesday morning and I am about to head out to a cafe for breakfast with my book. I was getting quite stuck into this last night. I still haven't read a massive amount. I'm only on page 37 because I got really tired, but I am enjoying it. We're moving things along. I realised, I said I was a couple of chapters in yesterday. I realised basically how this book does chapters is it has like overriding main chapters, and then within each chapter it's broken up into further chapters. So we have like chapter 1, and then within chapter 1 there's like part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And then it goes into chapter 2. So yeah, it's kind of broken up within its own chapter breakings up. So it's kind of making the story flow quite quickly at the moment, and I'm hoping that we get to the point of the discovery moment of this book, because at the moment we've kind of done the first part of the blurb really, which is all following our main character who hasn't had the best start to life and is really trying to do well for himself and ends up helping this old man who has fallen over. And I think that this is going to be the thing that moves him on to the next stage of the story, which is discovering the fantasy element of this book. So I'm excited to see that. But I'm going to bring this with me and have breakfast in town. There's a couple of things I need to do in town. So I'm going to walk in this morning, do that, and then I'm going to come back and finish editing my Scotland vlog. I was editing it last night. I have a lot of footage, but I'm so pleased with how it's turning out. So I need to do a little bit of editing, and I'm heading back to my family home later today. I don't work my full-time job on Wednesdays, so Wednesdays are for me to do my freelance work, for me to do Booksnest work. So yeah, that's how we're starting the day. Hopefully I can get a good amount read. Also need to listen to my audiobook. Have I said what I'm listening to? Well, at the airport I tried to start Carrie Soto's Back. I think I might restart it because there was a lot of like distractions going on, so I don't think I was giving it my full attention. But I am listening to Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's not the most festive seasonal read, however I wanted to have it read by next Tuesday when I'm going to the Taylor Jenkins Reid event in Bath for the book. So I want to be able to have finished it by then. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but I will listen to it on my drive later, and then just generally whenever I can have headphones on I will. So that's the plan. Let's crack on with the day. So I bought books. Neither of these are the books that I intended to buy today. I did kind of want to maybe get Assassin's Apprentice, but I was meant to pick up my click and collect order. However, the book that they had in for me, it's a really, really lovely hardback that I will show you when it does arrive, but it was unfortunately quite damaged, so they said they'd send it back and get another one sent to me instead. So I instead bought these two books. I bought Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I've heard a lot of people talking about Robin Hobb's writing, and I want to know what all the hype is about. I want all the feels. I may regret saying that, but I know that people have found the final book in this whole world very, very emotional. I know there's lots of different series within one kind of overriding, linking up all the worlds together, and this is where to start. So it's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. I know the series does get bigger, but I thought I would jump in at some point. I don't know when I'll be getting to this, but I now have no excuse because I now have the first book in the series. I also picked up Battle Royale by Koshun Takami. This, again, I've heard a lot of good things about, especially from Spoops, from Spoopy Hole. I have watched the film of this, so I do know kind of what's happening in it, if the cover doesn't give it away. But this is chonky. I'm hoping that this one's going to be quite fast-paced and action-packed in the way that the film is. So two very, very different vibes of books, but I'm excited to read them. Okay, I'm sorry the lighting is so bad in here, but hi, it is Friday and I have a couple of updates for you. So I'm now back at my family home. I came back to get my nails done, to get my hair done. We're going out for the day tomorrow and I'm at an event in Bath next week and it's closer to Bath for me. So I'm back here for about a week, but I wanted to show you my Halloweeny nails, if it's gonna focus. There we go, we've got little bats, we've got little blood dripping, moon, stars. I really like them. Usually I go for like bold colours across the whole nails, but I wanted to do it kind of, well, it's not minimalistic, is it? But like this for Halloween. I also got my hair done yesterday. I don't know if you can really tell in this lighting, but I just got the tips refreshed with the kind of bright orangey, reddy flame, I think it was called, colour. Anyway, that happened. I have read some more. I haven't read like a massive amount because it is a slower read. I'm only at chapter 6 now, so about the 90-page mark, but I am really enjoying this and I do intend to read a lot more over the weekend. Liking it a lot. The pacing is definitely slow. I really like the main character. He's a very good person and I think that's nice to see. I always say I like morally grey characters, but also like he is just so good and so kind and so selfless that I think that's just a really nice thing to see in a main character. Of course, it does make me worried for what's going to happen to him. There's also a dog in this and I love the dog to bits. I absolutely love any scene with the dog in it, so that's making me very happy as well. I am also making progress with Carrie Soto is back. I have about 2 hours left, 2.5 hours left in the audiobook, so I'm hoping maybe I can finish that today. I don't know if that's going to be too overly ambitious because obviously I do have to work today as well, and I don't think I have the kind of tasks where I can just listen to an audiobook. Sometimes I do. Today I don't think I do. So that is where I'm at with my reading. Carrie Soto is back. I'm enjoying. Honestly, Taylor Jenkins Reid has the ability to put a subject in a book I wouldn't have thought I'd be interested in and then have me completely interested in it. Like, I'm not someone that's interested in tennis. I don't really enjoy watching tennis personally. I can kind of get it, but I don't, it's not something I've ever really sat down and watched a full game of. And Taylor Jenkins Reid has now made me invested in the tennis in this book, so she's doing a good job of that. Carrie Soto as a character is incredibly unlikable, however she is slowly peeling back her shell a little bit. But yeah, she's quite an unlikable character, but I think that makes it interesting to follow her because I still care about what is happening to her and feel intrigued by her story. So once again, Taylor Jenkins Reid has written a character that I'm pretty sure could be real. I know they're fictional, but she's done it again where she's created that character that just feels like they are in the real world. She did it with Evelyn Hugo, she did it with Daisy Jones and the Six, and she's done it with Carrie Soto and Malibu Rising as well. So yeah, enjoying it more than I thought I would, to be honest, and I would definitely have finished that by the Bath event. It's just how much progress will I also have made in this by the end of this reading vlog. So we shall see. I would like to have made a significant chunk. We haven't really got to like the main part of the book yet, which I kind of need to see some flickers of soon. So I'm really hoping that we do get that soon. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my reading. That's where I'm at with my hair, my nails. I've got work today, as I said, but it's currently Friday morning. I've been for a couple of walks as well. That's happened. I think that's everything since I last spoke to you. So I will let you know when I finish Carrie Soto is back. Good morning, good afternoon. It is Saturday. I have a really lovely autumnal day planned today. I'm so excited to take you along with me. And I also have a reading update. So the plan for the day is to go to this really lovely National Trust place called Stourhead today. It is a beautiful, beautiful grounds with the most autumnal, perfect colours at this time of year. I've been wanting to go for a while. My family have been before, but I have been waiting to go for this time of year because the colours are just going to be absolutely stunning. I've been on a few walks already in this vlog, so I feel like it's become quite an autumnal themed vlog by accident, but I'm really excited to continue that into today's visit because it's just going to be really pretty. So obviously we'll film a lot there. That'll be the next things you see. But I also finished Carrie Soto is back this morning and gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So I definitely enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. I didn't love Malibu Rising. I really loved Daisy Jones and the Six, One True Loves and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I didn't love Malibu Rising. So I was kind of thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm going to think of Carrie Soto. I'm not a big tennis fan. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be something that interests me. However, I can successfully say that I did enjoy it more than I thought I would, and I felt invested more than I expected to. My biggest credit for Taylor Jenkins Reid as a writer is being able to write characters that you know aren't real, but just still Google and think are real anyway, and this book was no different. Carrie Soto is definitely a dislikable character to start with at the beginning of this book. You see her whole tennis career from when she's a young girl to when she retires, and seeing that throughout the whole length of the book, I love the kind of books that go through time in that way and have this kind of pattern where you can just see the characters developing, you can see the changes they go through, and we see Carrie go from being someone who starts off being pretty unlikable to someone who ends still not being the most likeable character, but she certainly softens and has had a lot more life experiences that we get to see and experience with her. And I think the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote that just made it all feel incredibly real and incredibly powerful when the wins and also when the low points happened for Carrie as a character. I felt like Seven Husbands and Daisy Jones certainly had more depth to them. I think that is why this one didn't completely woe me. I felt like whilst Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is a fairly short book, it felt like you went through so many different motions with Evelyn Hugo, and we have done the same with Carrie Soto, but I felt like Daisy Jones, Evelyn Hugo, they both felt like there was much more depth to them and to their lives beyond just what their careers were, whereas Carrie Soto was a lot more career focused, and that definitely was part of her characterisation anyway, so it made sense for her to be like that. But I think if we could have got a little bit more beyond that, I think I would have enjoyed that. And we did certainly see aspects of her life with her family and with her friendships that she did have. She didn't have many of them, but she did have a few. So we did definitely get that. It wasn't just about her career. I just feel like from other Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, I felt more connected to the storyline as well as the character. This is meant to be a quick update because I'm going out and yet I'm still talking. Anyway, right, enjoyed Carrie Soto, love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, and I think you do kind of know what you're getting into with Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, and I do really enjoy that about her as a writer. Carrie Soto was certainly slower in pacing, but it did have those big dramatic moments when Carrie had those moments in her career, and it definitely felt that the anticipation was building for those in the book. So 4 stars for that. Haven't made much more progress yet in Fairy Tale, still enjoying it, just haven't had much of a chance to read because when I was reading yesterday, I was listening to the audiobook for Carrie instead. So I will continue to read more of that today. I think I might read some on the way to this lovely National Trust building. And yeah, I don't really feel like I've got any more thoughts from yesterday to give you as an updated thought on Fairy Tale because I haven't read enough. I think the pacing is still definitely very slow and I am waiting for that big action moment, but also I just haven't been able to dedicate enough time to reading to get to that moment. So hopefully that will happen very soon. But please for now, enjoy this super beautiful autumnal footage of Stourhead. afternoon. It is Sunday and I have reading updates for Fairy Tale by Stephen King. So I have now reached over the 200-page mark. I feel like I'm making progress. Things are happening. The fantasy world has been introduced. I'm very intrigued. This is definitely leaning more on the side of fantasy than it is horror. I think there are some features that have the potential to become creepy and threatening, so I'm intrigued to see which direction it takes, but I am liking this one a lot and I'm glad that we have got the introduction now to that fantasy land because I think that's what I was really waiting for. I have actually made the decision to switch to the audiobook for Fairy Tale because I feel like the pacing just lends itself better to an audiobook. It's a really good story to get stuck into and I'm quite enjoying now listening to it, so I decided to switch to the audiobook, which means that I have started another physical read, which I don't actually have a bookmark for. So I'm just kind of propping it open at the moment, but this is The Nesting by CJ Cook. This is one that says don't read it with the lights off. So I'm quite interested to see if this does creep me out, but so far I'm about 80 pages in. I was just reading it for like a couple of hours this morning and getting really absorbed. We follow a nanny who, well, a woman who is saying she's a nanny that is going to Norway with a family and she is there to look after these two daughters. And there's some creepy things happening. We've already been introduced to some weird things happening, so I'm intrigued to see how this goes on. I'm definitely quite absorbed into this at the moment, so I'm excited to see where this story progresses. Just about to go on a dog walk now, but I will surely read a little bit more later and let you know my final thoughts before I wrap up this vlog. Good evening, it is Sunday night and I am here to wrap up this reading vlog and wrap up week 2 of Spoopathon. I feel like I've had a pretty good reading week this week. I haven't finished as many books as I did last week or the week before. I don't know when the week I read loads was. The time has become blurred because I had that long weekend for the Scotland trip, but I feel like I've read a fairly decent amount this week. I finished Carrie Soto is Back, which obviously didn't fit that well into Spoopathon. It wasn't at all a spooky book. So I'm glad that I have read that one before the event on Tuesday, so I won't inadvertently get spoiled. I'm sure there won't be spoilers, but I'm always just a bit wary. So finished Carrie Soto is Back. I have made what I would say is a significant dent, maybe, in this book. I mean, it's a dent. I am enjoying this one quite a lot. I have now switched to the audiobook, which is changing the reading experience slightly, but I feel like it's gonna kind of help me in terms of the pacing of the story, and that's kind of why I wanted to switch to the audiobook for this, so that I could enjoy it in a different way. I personally do enjoy audiobooks for slower paced books. I think for me it enhances the reading experience, and that is definitely doing that for this book. I just cannot flaw this main character. He is so damn good. Like, he is literally so flawless. He is so selfless. And you'd think that might be a bit boring, but it isn't. He's a really lovely character to read about, and he's a very wholesome character to read about, which isn't what I'd necessarily expect from a Stephen King novel. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I am excited to find out more about this fantasy land and see how that unravels the plot. But for now, this is where I'm at with this book. I will be continuing this into next week for Spoopathon Week 3. So of course I did then pick up The Nesting by CJ Cook. I've been reading this afternoon and I have read about, how many, 122 pages. And I'm really liking this one. It is a thrillery, horror-y vibe so far. There's definitely some creepy moments already being thrown into it, which I think I needed more of that in this. Not necessarily creepy bits, but just more of the kind of fantasy element where this has got the kind of paranormal element. I need that introduced quicker just so I can feel like I'm part of the action immediately and know what's happening. So I bought The Nesting by CJ Cook with me as an extra book if I did finish Fairy Tale, and obviously now that I'm listening to that on audiobook, this is the one that I picked up as a physical read, and I am really liking this one still. It's a really good horror slash thriller combination. I think it's going to have elements of both. We have started to be introduced to the horror elements and they're definitely creepy so far. About 120 pages into this, I'm really excited to go read it again. That's the kind of feeling this has given me. I want to pick it up. I'm really enjoying that we've got the Nordic setting and then we have the beautiful fjords and things like that to read about, because I think that adds to the atmosphere perfectly. It's very spooky in terms of how isolated it is, which I also really enjoy. I like that isolated, trapped feeling that we get. But yeah, there's some creepy stuff happening. There is children in this, which I feel like if you have kids in a horror, I feel like it just adds another level to how creepy things can get with what kids see and the way they interpret that. So I'm excited to keep reading. I'm going to read some more of this later. I'd be interested to know if this does scare me, because at the moment I can see there's creepy elements, but it's not giving me like the fear feeling. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates as these creepy moments get more and more, and as we see more of a suggestion of what the haunted element is within this book. Obviously this one will also be featured in my next weekly reading vlog. So yeah, you kind of have the TBR for next week's video. I mean, I'm sure that I will hopefully be finishing these within next week's video as well, I don't know. But they're both good, I'm enjoying them both so far. I just feel like I'm in my horror era at the moment. I know that fairy tale is more on the fantasy side of things, but The Nesting's definitely horror, and I really enjoyed reading the Final Girl Support Group, which was definitely horror, psychological horror really, but still definitely had the horror elements. I'm really enjoying it. I hope that this kind of extends out of October for me because I'm just really liking that kind of mood of books. Very atmospheric, obviously creepy, on the edge of your seat type of action, which I love. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about my reading at the moment. I was slumpy like 3 weeks ago making videos about trying to get out of my reading slump, and I'm definitely out of that reading slump, which is such a nice feeling to feel very excited about the books I want to read. So that is it for this weekly reading vlog. I really hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a very autumnal week. If you have enjoyed, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you have been reading this week, or if you would like to comment something and you're not sure what, then the little autumnal leaf, one of those little leaf emojis, would be perfect, because I just feel like that has been the vibe for this week. You can also subscribe to see more of my face on your feed, and link down below you will find my online shop and also my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, keep smiling and stay positive.